Hey everyone, welcome to another LA Online Film Critics Society show. We've got a psychotic Ma, we've got our favorite lizard, and we've got Rocketman, plus favorite biopics and favorite monster movies. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies.
Hi everybody, I'm Kit Bowen, the host of this episode of the LA Online Film Critics Society, the LAOFCS show. It's hard to say. We've got a great show today. We're going to talk about the movies coming out this weekend, plus we're going to talk about some of our favorite biopics and favorite monster movies. But first I'd like to introduce my lovely panel here, my fellow critics, starting with you, Chris. Tell us who you are and where we can find you.
Awesome. Well, I'm Chris James. I write over at Award Circuit, and you can follow me on Twitter at CWJ92MovieMan.
I love Twitter handles. And Alexander?
Hey guys, I'm back. Alexander Robinson. You can find me on YouTube, The Real Mr. Robinson. And my Twitter handles, RealMr_Robinson.
And I'm at the Movie Kit, actually, so I'm pretty easy. At the Movie Kit, all one word. Well, thanks, guys, for joining us today.
Glad to be here.
It's a good week of movies. Well, it's kind of a mixed week, I think, of movies.
I wouldn't be able to say. We'll get to that reason a little later.
That's the reason in a little while. But let's talk briefly about the two movies that weren't picked as our movie pick of the week. Let's start with Ma, which is a thriller, I guess. I wouldn't call it necessarily a horror film, but it kind of was. Thriller starring Octavia Spencer. She plays a woman who ends up opening up her basement to some high school kids so they can party. But a lot of other things go wrong in that. I'll start with you, Chris. What did you think of Ma?
So I love myself a good campy thriller. This felt in some weird way like Tate Taylor doing his own like 60s horror movie film. It felt... I really enjoyed Octavia Spencer going full force, full ham on this. I had an amazing time. And I think it's an absolute blast if you know what you're getting into.
Yeah. How about you, Alexander?
I hated this movie. I mean, I just saw it yesterday, so it's still kind of fresh in my mind, but I was disappointed in it because Blumhouse has really started to become more than just that cheap, like, horror studio, because with Get Out and Halloween, they've proven themselves that they can really do great stuff. And with Ma having an Academy Award winner as your lead, I was let down because I just thought it was ridiculous. I thought the teenagers acted in very dumb ways. A lot of the dialogue was... ugh. And there were points I just had an issue with with what they did with Octavia Spencer's character. There's stuff that happens in the movie that I don't want to spoil in the trailer, but it just made the movie almost unforgivable for me. So
yeah, I mean, I was sort of mixed because we actually, a whole bunch of us got to see it together. A lot of our LA Online film people, and we all kind of took up this whole row. And I would say about half of us walked out of there going, God, I hated that. That was just awful. Oh my gosh, the worst movie ever. And then some other people were like, I kind of liked it. I really had a good time with it. It was like a fun ride. So I'm kind of in between. There were moments to this I thought were a lot of fun. And I think Octavia Spencer does, actually, I really liked what she did with it. And it's good for her, I think, in a career where she's always played, the smart, wise, black lady or whatever it is. She kind of really branches out in this. And I really thought she did a great job. Some of those looks she gives were just unbelievable. However, the story did get a little stupid. And I think my main problem was, and we won't give this away either, but my main problem was her motive for doing what she was doing.
that's the thing that kind of ruined the whole movie for me. Again, they don't say in the trailers, because there's a lot that this movie has that they hide in the trailers, so I won't go into it here.
Yeah. But yeah, that was kind of my take on it. So it's interesting. We were all sort of you were liking it a little bit more, and yeah, you didn't like it at all. But
no, I will agree. The dialogue is written with the bluntest of tone. It's I mean it fully. I don't think it is going for the same type of Blumhouse style of horror. I actually saw this a lot as like his follow-up to Girl on the Train, just a movie that seems careening every which way out of control, but anchored by this really gonzo fantastic performance.
Yeah. And what else did he direct, Tate? There's something else that was...
The Help.
The Help!
And you see just like this weird stable of people from like his past movies, like Luke Evans from The Girl on the Train. You see Allison Janney in like a Lisa Kudrow-esque wig popping up.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's a very mixed crowd for this one. So, I guess take it with a grain of salt. What you'll take away from it when you go see it. Next we have Godzilla, King of the Monsters, which is going to probably be the big blockbuster winner this weekend. Everyone's predicting it too. I'll start with you, Alexander, first. What did you think of that?
Oh boy. So as that's not actually. I don't say oh boy in a negative light, an entirely negative light, because. I say oh boy because I've been a Godzilla fan hardcore since I was 7 years old, and if you go to my YouTube channel, The Real Mr. Robinson, I've just been putting out Godzilla mini videos every day of the month, and I'm almost burnt out. But I will say I like the movie. I am one of the few people that actually really loved what Gareth Edwards did with the 2014 reboot, because as somebody who's seen all the other movies beforehand at least 10 times a piece, I like his different approach to like reserving Godzilla a lot. I love his angle of like showing it from the perspective of the human characters, taking its time. It had issues, sure, and some of the teasing got a little but I enjoyed it. This one, it's definitely more about the monster action, and I think Michael Dougherty, you could tell he loves the franchise. Like if you are a fan of Godzilla out there, or even giant monster movies in general, there are a lot of Easter eggs to not just the legacy of Godzilla, but even some shots that are pulled straight from other monster movies that have nothing to do with Godzilla. My issue with the movie is that, wow, can he not film the monster fight scenes that well? Because you want to see these monsters fight in all their glory in these wide shots, and he films it way too close. It was like watching, for me, I said this in my review, but it was like watching the final act of Venom, where the camera's just up close. You can't really tell what's going on. Now, granted, you could tell Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, and Ghidorah apart, but even then, it's like, I wish the action was filmed a little better, because I think Gareth Edwards did a better job with that. Like, the monster fight scenes in that movie are at a wide angle.
Yeah.
Even Kong Skull Island did a phenomenal job. In terms of the three movies we have in the Monsterverse, Kong Skull Island is the best when it comes to the action.
Me too, I think so. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you on that. I think they did such a good job with the monster design, and I think that there are just like certain really great shots that show kind of like the majesty of these titans duking it out, but then you actually get to shooting the action, and it just feels like a bunch of CGI smeared onto a screen. And I think this is what was missing a little bit, because it is so impacted with action that those scenes really need to come alive. It's saddled with dialogue that is as club-footed as Ma, but has less fun than Ma.
I agree.
I can see that. Yeah, there are definitely parts of humor in that movie that I don't think worked too well. It reminded me of this is a weird comparison, but a less goofy version of how I thought the humor was in The Last Jedi, where it's not really hitting all that well, but I still think Dougherty has enough respect and love for the franchise as a whole that it's better than most people are giving it credit for. It's definitely not one of the best Godzilla movies ever. It's not even close, but I had fun.
Yeah, I was like this. I just, I'm not a hardcore fan, so I feel like this movie is for the hardcore fans, because you get all the great reveals, right? I think that was probably the best part of the movie, is the reveals. It's like when Rodan going, and then Mother and all this stuff, and you're like, oh, yay, and then they fight, and you're like, oh. But it was the human parts that was just bored me, just bored me to tears. I mean, it was the same thing over and over again. I mean, how many times do you think that stealth airplane was going to survive after it got hit so many times? I'm like, geez, it's like a Marvel stealth airplane. Anyway,
it was pretty much the helicarrier.
Yeah, I was just bored. And the only kind of redeeming quality to the human side of it, I thought, was Millie Bobby Brown, who plays a young girl whose parents are the scientists who are figuring out how to,
Yeah.
restore balance to the world or whatever. But I thought she brought a lot of heart to it. I thought she did a really good job. Vera Farmiga, I love her, but I just think she was wasted in this. And Kyle Chandler plays her dad. He was doing this a lot. And I mean, Bryan Cranston. I mean, not Bryan Cranston, although he was in the other one.
Yeah, and biggest.
I get them so mixed up.
Bradley Whitford.
And Bryan Cranston. I used to always get them mixed
Well,
up.
Bradley Whitford was trying to sell every line reading that he was
Every
given.
line reading, right?
He was, and I love him in most of the stuff he's in, but here, that was one of my biggest issues with the humor. It's like, it's not, again, I hate to repeat myself, but it's just not hitting.
Yeah. But I have to say that I am, encouraged because it did continue the story. There's some things, like you said, Easter eggs and things that'll pop up that I'm sure people will go, oh my God. So I'm actually encouraged for the next one, Godzilla versus King Kong.
Yeah, which I would never have thought in my lifetime that I would be able to see King Kong and Godzilla fight again, let alone in a big budget American movie on the theaters.
So yay!
It's like, as much as I'm not in love with Godzilla King of the Monsters, it's an exciting time to be a Godzilla fan. For me.
Yeah. I don't think Doherty is directing them, but he did write it.
I believe what Doherty did, he did like some sort of uncredited rewrites just to keep continuity between his movie and Godzilla vs. Kong, because that one's being directed by Adam Wingard, which, I mean, after was it Death Note? I kept wanting to say Death Wish.
Oh, Death Note.
After
the Netflix thing.
Yeah,
right?
after Death Note, I'm just like, I mean, it could work because I really like The Guest.
Yeah.
So it could go either way.
Well, we'll hope. I have some hope. So that brings us to our movie pick. Our LA Online Film Critics Society movie pick of the week is Rocketman.
The only movie that I did not see.
I know Alexander didn't get a chance to see this, but we're going to convince him to go see it immediately because I loved this. I mean, I think that Bohemian Rhapsody last year was great. I loved that too, and I think really you walk away from that one pumped because of that Live Aid concert. But the rest of the film, it's pretty much paint by the numbers biopic. This, however, is not. I thought it's done more like Across the Universe, where you've got Elton John's songs sort of infusing the narrative to the film. And I'm a huge Elton John fan, so I'm literally singing through the whole thing. And Taron Egerton from Kingsman, he plays Elton. He is just phenomenal. I mean, I kind of wish there was another girl here with me because I'm gonna swoon a little bit. The guy just
I will
totally, completely made me like. I mean, I literally swooned when he's singing your song. I was like, huh. So yes, he is just phenomenal, and he sings all of Elton's songs. I guess Elton John was one of the producers of the film, and he really worked hard with Taron and to getting because singing Elton John is not easy because that guy has a lot of different octaves, a lot of different range. So I don't know. I absolutely adore this movie. How about you, Chris?
I absolutely loved it as well, and I also cried during the Your Song part. It's so beautiful, but I think what the movie gets really right is it doesn't want to be this straightforward biopic. I was actually not quite a fan of Bohemian Rhapsody. I feel like save the Live Aid parts and everything else you can completely scrap. But I think making this a jukebox musical, almost in the style of Mamma Mia, is more true to Elton John's songs and how they make people feel and why they are such cultural landmarks. I think Taron Egerton does.
Is it Egerton? Is that how you say his last name?
I believe so, or maybe I'm wrong.
We could be right.
I think I've heard it both ways.
Okay.
I've heard Egerton or Edgerton.
Well, I mean, it's not quite that, but I'm hoping and praying, Taron, because I swooned for you and your song, that I'm getting it right. But no, I thought he did such an amazing job, and I think, because I also think like this movie moves at such a breakneck speed throughout his full life, and I think you get quite a lot of crazy, corny dialogue as you're speeding through all the tropes, but the tone and commitment to it and the way that they use all the songs really helps move that along. And I also think just in terms of the way his gayness informs his life, and how the whole arc is built around him not feeling deserving of love because of his sexuality and having to work through that, was a really strong, really powerful way to tell that story while also honoring his queer identity.
Yeah. What do you think, Alec?
Well, I haven't seen it, but I'm with
have
you
some
in the
questions.
sense that, yeah, I do have some questions. I'm with you in the sense that I did not like Bohemian Rhapsody. How it got nominated for 5 Oscars and won 4 of them is beyond me, especially for editing, the thing it was criticized for.
Right.
But,
Totally. I think Star is Born was way better editing if you were going to talk about, you know, kind of the cut between the concerts and everything.
I mean, Star is
Don't get us
Absolutely.
started.
Star is Born is fictional, and that was
Yeah.
a better music movie than Bohemian Rhapsody. But my question is, like, I guess you guys talked about it a lot, but compared to Bohemian Rhapsody, like, does it feel like, in terms of its editing, since that's the big thing we all criticize that movie for, is it tighter? Is it like less wonky? Because one of my big issues with Bohemian Rhapsody is that they have moments where they kind of do origin stories for their songs, and they just feel so similar. It's like, here's the inspiration, here's them recording it, here's the performance, and then they just kind of rinse and repeat. Does that happen in this movie? Are they better? How do they handle the songs?
It's much better. I will say one of the because essentially not all of the music or the songs happen as he's writing it, or you know, a lot of times there will be him as a child singing a song that he wrote later in life. I don't know if they thread the needle so well in saying like this is when he wrote this, or this is just how he was feeling at this one time and we're applying this song to this moment.
So is it more focused on his life rather than just
Yeah.
the song? Okay.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
really it is a biopic in the classic terms, is that it shows his life. You know, it starts off, you know, with him in a certain situation. Of course, we still don't want to give it too much away, but he's in a certain situation and then he flashes back, and so then you get to see him as a child, and you know, he had issues with his father, who was not very loving and whatnot, and he was a sensitive kid. You know, I thought some of the most amazing thing was, and this is true actually, most everything in the movie is factual as opposed to Bohemian Rhapsody, which everyone kept saying.
That was another thing I was gonna ask, because Bohemian Rhapsody just bugged me that the end of the movie, especially when they found out that Freddie Mercury was diagnosed. It's like if anyone who knows the history of Queen and Freddie Mercury knows that he did not tell the rest of the band until after Live Aid, and even then, once he told them, the band never broke up.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I don't know. So it makes me happy to hear that this is a lot better.
Well, it's because Elton was part of it. I mean, it's like he may have
True.
embellished parts of his of what he felt because so I guess his half brothers who have come out and said that their father wasn't really like that, because his father had a whole second marriage and everything like that. So, but according to Elton, that's how he felt, you know, and that's really where we're getting from is his, you know, emotional reactions to things. But yeah, and Bryce Dallas Howard, I thought she was fantastic. She plays his mom, and you know, and then of course my other favorite character was Bernie Taupin, who is, you know, Elton's longtime best friend and lyricist and whatnot, played by Jamie Bell. I mean, it was so fascinating to watch. Which I'm sure is what happened between them. I mean, like, Bernie Taupin was so amazing at writing songs. He literally would take a half an hour to write a song, you know, or maybe a little longer than that. But then he'd hand it off to Elton, and within an hour and a half, Elton had a song out of it. I mean, it's just, that's how they work. They were so, I mean, you think about how many songs they've written together. I have a kind of, do you mind if I tell this funny little story?
Sure.
Okay, so I have 2 older sisters, and my middle sister got Goodbye Yellow Brick Road for Christmas one year when I was about, I don't know, 8 or something like that, and I know, dating myself a little bit, but anyway, she was so excited about getting this album, and then you remember how albums used to be like these huge pictorial things with all the words, all the lyrics, you know, and you just see all the pictures and everything, and I loved looking through my sister's albums like that. Anyway, so she got it for Christmas. She's super excited. You know, it's after we've opened all the presents. So I kind of sneak in and I kind of start looking at everything, and I lift it up, and the record falls out and breaks on the floor.
Oh no.
And she was so mad. Although she was trying not to be too mad at me because she knew it was an accident, but she was mad. And and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I felt so bad. My mom's like, it's okay. We'll get another one. It's no big deal. But I felt awful. Anyway, I have a very special relationship with Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. So that, like I said, I literally sang through this whole movie.
Okay.
Your sister sounds a lot nicer than me. I remember one time my brother lost the greatest hits to Elton John when we were both young, like the CD or whatnot, and was not having it. Was not as nice and compassionate.
The only thing about this is that I'm afraid that people won't, respect it as much as because Bohemian Rhapsody did get such huge acclaim, and it's just only been since last year. What do you guys think? I mean, do you think Rocketman should rise above that?
I mean, I would hope. I think what I hope doesn't hinder it, but I feel like could is there was still, because Queen was so around during the promotion of Bohemian Rhapsody, that this was a more serious quote-unquote movie about the band. And I think what makes Rocketman so special is that it takes artistic license to tell you more about the songs and the way that they make people feel. But I'm wondering if that makes it come across too fantasy. I think
that's fine with me.
It's fine with me. I think it was the right choice. I would be fine. I love the movie. I do think that there are faults if it doesn't rise to the highs of Bohemian Rhapsody in terms of a Best Picture nomination. But I really, really hope Taron Egerton gets to pull through to the Best Actor race, because especially if you are doing an apples-to-apples comparison with Rami, I think he just blows it out of the water, and not just because he sings.
No, it's absolutely true. I mean, Rami was brilliant too. I mean, but yeah.
All right. Well, I'm seeing it tomorrow morning, so.
Oh, yay!
Hooray! Convinced.
So you'll be on your YouTube channel, then you'll review it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And for those, again, the YouTube channel is The Real Mr. Robinson. I'll also do a review for Ma once I guess as soon as possible.
Yeah. There you go. So anyway, so that brings us to biopics in general. They are troubled type of genre, I think. They, more often than not, don't usually hit all that well. But then there are those that really, really do stand out. And I think it's when they do take some chance. Well, either the subject is super, either controversial or, flamboyant or whatever the case may be, then that usually works as a movie. But if they are kind of maybe not so well known or whatever, it's hard, and you try to maybe infuse a little bit of stylistic choices or whatever that a director might do. So I'm curious, what are some of your favorite biopics?
Well, I actually spent a lot of time thinking about this particular topic. I picked two, and they're both from this decade. Goes to show you how knowledgeable I am when it comes to recounting the biopics I've seen, but I'm going with The Social Network and The Disaster Artist.
Okay.
Like, I picked The Social Network first because it's such an important landmark film in terms of it's covering the creation of this thing that we use on a daily basis, and just the troubles that it went through, like the legal issues, how much Mark Zuckerberg, I almost said Jesse Eisenberg, same person pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
Just how he kind of screwed everyone over to get this thing made, and that there's, I don't know, it's really fascinating, and the fact that it's a very different movie from what David Fincher usually does, because you usually identify with him with Seven, Gone Girl, Girl with the Dragon 2, Panic Room. So for him to do a biopic like this that's not as dark as some of his other stuff is impressive.
Right.
And I mean, Jesse Eisenberg's phenomenal. Armie Hammer for being able to play both Winklevoss twins.
I mean, that's before he was even well known enough, right? And so a lot of people thought, who were those twin guys? I've never seen them before. You remember? I mean, there were a lot of people thought that he was actually had twins.
Yeah, and to find out that he was just playing both of them,
I know.
You couldn't even tell.
I know, it was pretty cool. And then the Disaster Artist, huh?
The Disaster Artist is
that's awesome.
It's special for me because I love The Room. Like,
I've never seen it.
Is
it pretty spectacular?
But go to one of the events.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, if you go to one of the midnight screenings for The Room, and it's worth it. If you watch it by yourself, you will really... It's struggling to watch by yourself. It's almost depressing to watch by yourself. But The Disaster Artist, much like how I talked about with Godzilla King of the Monsters, how Michael Dougherty loves the Godzilla series, you can tell James Franco has a love for Tommy Wiseau and how The Room even got made, and it could have easily come across as like a parody or making fun of Tommy Wiseau, or like, look how bad this guy is. Like, no, it manages to respect him because he's pretty much like Ed Wood. He's just a guy who wanted to make it big, and maybe he didn't get famous in the way he wanted to, similar to how Ed Wood got famous through Plan 9 from Outer Space. But he still got famous. People still talk about him. People still go to see midnight screenings of The Room. So, and it's just so funny and clever in its script and the performances. One of my favorite moments is when I forget who the actual guy's name, but Seth Rogen.
Oh, right, the director.
The assistant director. He goes to cash in his check, like thinking it's gonna bounce, and like he finds out that Tommy Wiseau has this endless amount of money from some weird place.
Some weird
it's like
thing.
it's like even today nobody knows exactly where it's from, but yeah, I love The Disaster Artist. It was one of my top 3 of 2017.
Yeah, that was a good one. How about you, Chris?
I mean, I have to agree with both of those choices.
Yeah, those are good ones.
Those are great, but you talked a lot about how it's great how much James Franco loves Tommy Wiseau, and that made it a great biopic. And I have to say, what's love got to do with it? My pick for the best, especially best music biopic. So the story of Ike and Tina Turner, played so amazingly by Lawrence Fishburne and Angela Bassett, who I think might have like the greatest performance of a musical artist.
She did a great job.
It's such a searing portrayal of just how someone can rise to fame and rise in such a way intrinsically linked to this person, but how this rise also contributes to the detriment of your own personal life and the sacrifices you have to make. And one of the most chilling segments I found was when Angela Bassett's Tina Turner kind of escapes for a momentary reprieve and is trying to get into a motel.
Yeah.
It's such great work, and I think it's also just the trick with biopics is so many times people think it needs to encompass someone's whole entire life and the scope of everything that they did. But when you really find your narrative prism and find a compelling way to tell that, then that's when you can really sing. And and it's just so interesting in the moment that we're talking about now with, abuse, especially like in the role of artists. This movie was doing it long before in 1993.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting one to revisit.
Yeah, I love that one too. And I think, like I was saying, when a biopic is about something that's, impactful, like her life, because she was, horribly abused. And it was just watching those scenes and watching those moments really made that movie. And then seeing her just go on stage and just like, freaking nail it, after being slapped around. Angela Bassett. I think she got nominated for that, didn't she? I think she did. Yeah, she was pretty amazing in that. But back to my point. So I like I was saying, I like stylistic things. So I actually have 2 that are very stylistic. My first one's A Beautiful Mind. Mm-hmm. A story that we didn't know much about this guy, right? And that, but the whole. The premise that he was, bipolar or schizophrenic, whatever it was the issues that he had, it's the beautiful mind. It's the artists who have these issues and they take the medications, but it makes them not be able to use their, brilliant abilities. So what's to say about a person's mind who might not work the same way we think we work, right? It's not normal. They're tapping into something else, and yet they have to take these medications to be normal and to, into function in society. I thought Russell Crowe did an amazing job with that, but how it was stylistic, like you didn't know what he was seeing and what he was experiencing was actually real or not until then you realize, oh no, it's not real.
Yeah, and it's a terrific reveal too, especially in the way Jennifer Connelly plays it and how you see how it factors into this home life. Yeah,
and she was brilliant too. I mean, of course, well deserved Academy Award for her for that performance. But yeah, and Ron Howard, he's one of those directors that can take that kind of subject matter and turn it into something really, really good. I always feel like he's like the everyman director because he can really just do just about anything, you know, and he doesn't have all those little flares and all his little auteur things, like a Wes Anderson or something, which are great too. But he just goes, I'm going to tell the story and this is how I'm going to do it, and he usually does a really good job. So
his filmography is very diverse.
Yeah, it's totally diverse. But yeah, that's my first one. My second one is Vice. I loved Vice last year. I know it was kind of a divided movie, but I adored it. You know, Adam McKay, again, he's a director, writer-director who's very passionate about the things that he's talking about, right? So between The Big Short and then you know, focusing on Chaney, I mean, you're horrified because this really happened and this man really was who he was or is or whatever. But then you're laughing your ass off. I think the whole part in the middle where the credits start going up, oh, and he lived a happy life with his wife and everyone was happy, and this is the end of the movie.
Like, oh,
you're
if
like,
only.
yeah, that chance.
Yeah, if only it ended there.
If only. And then, of course, Christian Bale, who is, you know, phenomenal.
Yeah, I think he should have. For me, I think he should have gotten the Oscar over Rami Malek.
I kind of picked him in a couple of Oscar pulls that I had. Ones that didn't matter. I was like, okay, for the money, I'll pick Rami, but in my heart, I really want Christian Bale. Yeah, so I did, and it's funny because my husband is, you know, he's kind of a political animal. And we laughed and we watched this movie and he loved it. But at the end of it, he was so mad, like all over again, like it had just happened. I'm going, honey, it's done. He goes, I just can't. And he was like pacing around and stomping his feet. It's just, you know, of course, it's not quite as bad as what we got right now. But anyway, it's sort of a precursor to that. But those are my two favorites of biopics. But there's so many. I mean, I was like looking through the list of all the biopics. Oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah, that one. Ray is another one I was thinking of too. That's a good one for a musical biopic. But yeah.
Yeah, and there's just so many different techniques to approach someone's life. There's almost like 5 different genres between our picks.
Yeah, it's true. We all picked different ones too. I loved it. But then also talking about Godzilla, we've got some favorite monster movies. Now, what do you consider a monster movie? I'm curious to see what you guys pick because I
actually would like to go last on this.
Okay. I'll go first.
Perfect.
All right. So I'm thinking, okay, what's because I actually really liked Peter Jackson's King Kong. That's one of my. I love that one, but I went, okay, well, there's other monster movies. So I had to pick one of my most favorite movies of all time is Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I'd say that counts.
It does count, right? Okay, and Jaws was my other one. I think, well, one monster in Jaws, but Jurassic Park was a better pick because of the fighting dinosaurs and stuff. Again, I have all these little funny stories, but my daughter loves Jurassic Park, and she was 2 when she watched it for the first time.
Oh my God!
And loved it. Loved it. I mean, we would get to the people talking, and she'd go, fast forward to the dinosaurs. So I'd have to fast forward to the dinosaurs, and she'd watch that all over again. She had all kinds of dinosaur adventures in her room. But yeah, that I think not only was it a great monster movie, but really Steven Spielberg, who's one of my all-time favorite directors, he ushered in a kind of filmmaking that we hadn't really seen up to that point, which was the whole CG. It looks like there's a real dinosaur standing in front of you. I mean, I just remember how wowed everybody was with the technology behind what he did with that. Of course, it's gone leaps and bounds since then, but still, it was one of the first of that kind that was just really completely floored people. So that's definitely, and then of course Jaws. And if any of you know me, and some of you do out there, it's one of my all-time favorite movies. I will literally watch it every time it's on TV.
Same here. Every time Jaws pops up, it's like I have to leave the room right now because if I sit down to watch it, I am not going to leave.
I know. And again, the thing about Jaws is it is a monster movie because the shark is the monster, but the fact that the shark didn't work half of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it. I mean, I have read a lot about it, but it intentionally made the movie so much better just because they had to rely on the relationships between these 3 guys, out on the water like that, and it just worked. It just worked as a buddy, like not a comedy, but a buddy. Monster.
It was
movie.
pretty much a man on a mission movie.
Yeah, man on a mission movie. Yeah, it's funny. I was just watching it the other day, and the music. the score is such an iconic part of the movie, right? So
Yeah.
it's so foreboding, and all you had to do was play that music, and you're like, ugh. But then there are times when they're on the water and they're chasing they're chasing the shark, and there's like kind of that lighthearted and at one point Richard Dreyfuss's character says fast fish, and they're and Steve, like my husband was like, well, why is the music changed like that? It's because it's like an adventure. I think Spielberg wanted to say, they're about ready to get their asses kicked, but here's this kind of fun thing that this sort of exuberance that they were feeling chasing this fish. So those are my two monster movies. How about you, Chris?
Wonderful. Well, I also kind of struggled with, where do you draw the line on a monster movie, especially like as we talked about Godzilla, a very classic monster destroys how many different metropolises in the world. So on that, not quite a metropolis, but I went the 30s monster movie route with Universal and would love to talk about Frankenstein, which is my favorite
that's
of
a good
those.
one.
That's a great one.
It's not only about, someone engineering this monster that then takes hold, but I think what's so powerful about that is how just in the short span of life that the Frankenstein's monster has, how you're able to see how he's misunderstood, how he's driven away, back to his windmill where, spoiler alert, he meets his unfortunate death. Almost 80-year spoiler. But no, I think it's just like, it's a tragic tale of a monster and how, these creatures that you don't understand could be welcomed into your society, but the minute just like they step out of line, everything crumbles against them.
Yeah.
And that's heartbreaking. But in terms of my other kind of favorite subset, instead of wreaking havoc on a town, wreaking havoc on just, one group of people in one house, I love the John Carpenter's The Thing.
I was just going to
So
say, you were
much.
going to say that.
I mean, one of the most intense films ever made, and just in the sense that the monster is within everyone and you don't know who it is or when they'll pop their heads out to eat you.
So the humans are really the monsters. That's the whole key to this movie, right?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, I saw The Thing for the first time 2 years ago on Blu-ray, and I was so nervous. Like, I was nervous. I was stressed watching the entire movie. And it's phenomenal. Like for a first viewing, it's just like
2 years ago.
Well, no, but I remember in college watching it and I screamed so much, like 5 different times during the blood test scene. It's just...
Yeah.
Will someone get me off this boat? Okay, right. Okay, Alexander.
All right, for me. I'm going to go back to Japan because... I talked about Godzilla, and we talked about King of the Monsters, how it has issues where it's basically just the monster action. If you out there, like you in the panel, you out there watching, want a Godzilla movie that has substance and is actually compelling, watch Shin Godzilla from 2016.
Oh.
That was the first Japanese-made Godzilla movie since 2004. And what it is, it's actually a political satire. It uses Godzilla to poke fun at the earthquakes, tsunamis, and the Fukushima meltdown from 2011 and how slow the Japanese government is at responding to these events.
Oh, interesting.
So, I mean, a lot of the movie is focused around the politics of Japan, and it's actually very fascinating. It has some really good dialogue and just the inner workings on how Japan's government works, but told through a monster movie. And the monster scenes themselves, like Godzilla's never looked more terrifying than he does in this movie. They do CGI with him this time around, not suitmation, which is man in a suit for those out there who don't know. And the CGI is definitely second rate compared to what we have, but the way it's shot and the way it's lit is just phenomenal. And has some of my absolute favorite moments in the entire franchise.
Cool.
And it's one of
awesome.
and it was a Godzilla movie that got a limited release here in the United States, and critics who actually saw it gave it positive reviews. More so than the Gareth Edwards one from 2014.
Interesting.
So, like, if you've
It's subtitled. I take it.
it is. There are some moments where you have American actors in there or Japanese actors speaking English, and if there's any problem with the movie, it's that they don't deliver their lines very well. Like, it just sounds very bad, but the rest of the movie is great.
Okay.
And
all
then
right.
I'll just throw another one out there.
Do it.
More simple. I'm going to throw in the 90s Gamera trilogy from 1995 to 1999. And for those of you who don't know what Gamera is, basically okay, so back in Japan during the 50s and 60s, every studio wanted to try to replicate Godzilla, because Toho had created Godzilla in 1954 and everyone's tried to copy it. The closest anyone ever got to, like, as the second best thing was Gamera, which is pretty much this flying, fire-breathing turtle. It's bizarre, trust me, and a lot of the earlier movies are just so weird. But there were 3 Gamera movies made in the 90s, and they are the closest they ever get to rivaling Godzilla. Like, they're taken more seriously. They have good performances. The monster suits and action scenes are great. The first Gamera movie was actually a movie that Roger Ebert liked when it came out. More for a campy quality, but he still liked it a lot. Right. And it actually shares the same plot as the Gareth Edwards Godzilla.
Gotcha.
So it's one of the things where it's like, you watch the 2 movies back to back, you could tell Gareth Edwards was a fan of this movie. And then the second one is often regarded, the second and third one are often regarded as the best ones because that's when the special effects get better. And the third one has a very compelling human story because it focuses on a girl whose parents were killed by Gamera in one of the earlier movies. So basically she befriends a monster to...
Like Frankenstein.
Pretty much.
There we go.
Well, except this monster doesn't throw her in a pond and she drowns. But she basically uses this monster to try to get revenge on Gamera. And it's very compelling to watch. It's often regarded as one of the best monster movies to come out of Japan. And if you guys want the actual titles for each movie, yeah, this is how nerdy I can get with these things. It's Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, which is the first one. Second one was Gamera 2, Attack of Legion, or The Advent of Legion. It has a couple of different titles. And then the third one is Gamera 3, The Revenge of Iris.
Okay.
And those 2 are, for monster movies, they're great. And they rival some of the best of the Godzilla series. And the director of those 3 movies is a guy named Shusuke Kaneko. He eventually went on to direct one of the best Godzilla movies in the franchise, by the name of Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, which I also recommend because it has such a, like, it sounds weird.
He's our resident Godzilla expert here.
Oh yeah, if you go to my YouTube channel, you will have Godzilla videos galore on there. But that movie is another one I recommend simply because it has an interesting way of portraying Godzilla to where there's some substance to it. And it has some great monster action as well. And those are my picks.
Oh, wow, good. They're very interesting picks. I love it. Well, guys, thank you. We had such a great conversation today. I mean, like I said, there's some good movies out right now, actually, overall. Booksmart, we'll just give another shout out.
Oh, absolutely. Go see Booksmart.
Go see Booksmart, and then you can go see Godzilla or Rocketman, but see Booksmart as well. It's phenomenal.
Yes, don't sleep on Booksmart, guys. It is one of the best coming-of-age movies of the decade.
It really, one of the funniest teen movies of all time that I've ever seen. So anyway, definitely go see Booksmart. But let's, again, tell us who you are and how to find you and whatnot, and Twitter stuffs and everything. Go ahead.
Oh, great. So Christopher James, once again, with Award Circuit, and you can follow me on Twitter at CWJ92MovieMan. I knew you wanted to hear that again.
Again.
All right. So again, youtube.com/The Real Mr. Robinson. I'm on Twitter at RealMr_Robinson. And I'm also on Instagram at The Real Mr. Robinson and Stardust at Real Mr. Robinson.
Stardust? What's that?
Okay, so Stardust.
I'm old.
Should I just say it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Stardust is it's an app where you can do quick 30-second reactions to movies or TV shows. It actually started up 2 years ago, and it's a nice way to get your quick thoughts on something as soon as you see it. It's fantastic.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. I never heard of that before. And I'm Kit Bowen. You can follow me at The Movie Kit. And of course, you'll be hearing, if you follow us on Twitter, you'll get a chance to see some of our other colleagues that we have in our group that we spotlight. And next week, we got a pretty good show as well, actually. We've got actually 2 big movies coming out. Dark Phoenix. I don't know. I'm a little nervous.
It'll be interesting because I have some preconceived feelings about that movie, but I've been surprised before, so you
That's
never
true.
know.
I do love X-Men movies. I have to say that, I'm just going to qualify that. I do like them. So, but the last one wasn't so great, so I'm a little nervous about this one. Also, The Secret Life of Pets 2, which I hear is actually pretty good from some of the people I know have seen it already. And then also Late Night, which was a big hit at the South by Southwest, I think, or what am I wrong about that?
Sundance, I believe.
Sundance?
It didn't seem like I don't know.
It's one of those
it
festivals.
doesn't seem like a movie that would be at Sundance. So.
It's one of those movies. Anyway, Emma Thompson, Mindy Kaling wrote it. It looks really, really, really funny. And then also The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which is, I guess, a drama. I'm not quite sure. I'm not too familiar with that one. But those are all coming out next week, and we'll have another show next week with some new people to talk about those. But join us again next week. And again, thank you, Chris and Alexander. I had a great time. This is Kit. We're signing off. See you guys soon with movies. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.